What is the weirdest thing you have ever seen a stranger do? There's a coffee shop inside the building where I work. It's one of those little places with decent espresso, overpriced muffins, and weird jazz music playing at all hours. I used to swing by there every night before heading out, mostly to grab a hot drink for the commute. It closes at midnight, and one night I was the last employee on site, doing final rounds, making sure everything was locked up before the janitorial crew came through. Just after 11:45 p.m., one of the baristas came into the lobby looking weirded out and said, "There's a guy asleep at one of the corner tables, and I think he's been there for like 2 hours." I figured maybe he was a student or one of the usual downtown stragglers looking for a warm place to crash, so I offered to handle it. Sure enough, there he was, slumped over sideways in a booth, arms crossed, head tilted back like he'd just dropped mid-conversation. Looked like he was in his 30s, flannel shirt, old jeans, a backpack under the table. Not dirty, not wasted, just still. I walked over and gently tapped the table. He blinked, sat up, and stretched like he'd just had the best nap of his life. I told him the shop was closing and I was about to lock the building doors, so he had to head out. Cool, he mumbled, still groggy. Then he stood up, reached into his backpack, pulled out a bottle of water and unscrewed it. I thought he was just going to take a drink. Instead, he bent down, lifted the bottom cuff of his jeans, just above his left calf, and poured the water directly onto the denim. Not a sip, not a splash, he poured. The water soaked through and started dripping onto the tile floor. It was silent for a second, just water hitting the ground. I said, "What are you doing?" Not yelling, not angry, just stunned. I wasn't sure if he was having a moment or trying to make a point I didn't understand. He looked up at me like I had asked the weirdest question in the world and said in the calmest voice I've ever heard, "That's how they work, man." Then he screwed the cap back on, shoved the bottle in his bag, and walked out of the coffee shop like nothing happened. Didn't run, didn't smile, just nodded politely, pushed open the glass door, and disappeared into the street. I stood there, staring at the wet spot on the floor and the puddle trailing behind him, and couldn't come up with a single explanation. The barista leaned around the counter and said, "What just happened?" All I could say was, "I have no idea." We cleaned up the water, locked the doors, and that was the end of it. Never saw him again. He didn't come back the next night or the next week. I kept expecting to catch him again, sitting in the corner, maybe doing something else bizarre like eating sugar packets with a spoon or humming to the espresso machine, but nothing. To this day, I think about it way more than I should. It wasn't just the water. It was how normal he acted about it, like it was part of a routine. Wake up, stretch, water your jeans, leave. No explanation, no smirk, no indication that he thought anything was strange. Just a guy in a flannel shirt soaking his pant leg, like that's what you do before heading home at midnight. I still walk past that corner table every night. It's just a regular seat, nothing special. But every once in a while, I glance at it and half expect to see someone sitting there with a water bottle in hand, ready to water their pants like a potted plant. That's how they work, man. It lives rent-free in my head.